The Edmonton Oilers making some roster moves over the last 24 hours. Max Jones, Liam, goes down to Bakersfield, simply reassigned. He didn't play enough games to need to go back on waivers. And I am curious if that was maybe a factor in all of this. The reports came out yesterday that Edmonton wanted both Hutson and Howard back up with the big club. The two guys, I mean, we've seen Hutson obviously more recently than Howard, but both guys playing very, very well down in Bakersfield. So they want to bring those two up. Your options to clear up one roster spot for them would have been, I guess you could have waived Curtis Lazar. That's about it. You would have to waive Janmark. Henrique, you can't waive. I don't think, you could waive Mangiapane, but they're obviously not going to do that. They're looking to trade him. So, like, sending Max Jones down, he's the only one that didn't need waivers. Like, that made sense.
Yeah, it made sense.
I love him. I think he's got to come back up at some point. I think this is an undeserved demotion.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was just going to say then, too. Is just he earned a spot on this team during his temporary run. What did he play? 8 and 9 games, whatever it was. But it felt like he was impactful on most nights, which is a real big positive. It's just a shame now that the two players that brought a bit of consistent identity to the Oilers' fourth line were Connor Clattenburg and Max Jones. Yeah. Now, neither of them are on the team, so I'm looking at what's the fourth line tonight? Tomorrow. Sorry, it's Frederick, Janmark, and Lazar, I think is what it's stapled to be. Lazar, I think, brings it. Oh, thank you. They moved things around already.
What do you mean?
Oh, sorry, I misread it. I was looking at Howard, Savoy, and Hutson as the third line earlier. Okay, thank you. So Frederick, Henrique, and Janmark is the third or fourth line, whatever we're going to call it. Frederick and Janmark have to bring that level of intensity that Jones and Clattenburg were doing when they were on this team. So that's what I would think. In that side of things, but just on Howard, obviously he found his score and touch, and credit to him. He went down to Bakersfield. He had quite the impact there, scoring-wise. Playmaking-wise, we'll talk about that a little bit, but Hutson, we saw him for a brief audition before Christmas. And I liked him. I did too, but the reason I think we talked about it before the break as well is like he was sent down because the NHL was in a roster freeze. They couldn't send down anybody else. Yeah. And he needed to just go down there because that's what they just had to do. So I'm glad he got called back up so quickly. To me, it shows that they were happy with what they saw.
Yeah, I think so. I think that last thing you just said, though, is it gives us an interesting spot to build off of because they're happy with what they saw from Howard and Hutson, sure. But let's not make any mistake here, Liam. If they were happy with what they were seeing from Henrique, Mangiapane, Frederick, Janmark, any one of these guys, if they were happy with what they were getting from that group, we aren't talking about Quinn Hutson and Ike Howard being up with this team right now. And I think the quote from Kris Knoblauch after the loss to Boston, which was an ugly, ugly loss, we don't need to really revisit it and do a whole game breakdown. If you want the Coles notes, they deserved to lose. Connor McDavid was awesome. Everyone else stunk.
I cannot believe McDavid and Draisaitl had a combined 17 shots and neither of them scored.
Insane.
That has got to be... Yeah, the first time that's ever happened.
Yeah, Ingram with a stinker. He probably wants a lot of those back, but again, whatever. We flush it, we move on. But Jack Roslovic started the game as the third line center and then started getting moved up again a little bit, right? Knoblauch after the game on Roslovic, quote, "It looks like we need him playing in the top 6. Having him up there, being a bit more dangerous, giving Leon a little more support, I think that's important. As much as we want to get a third line and get something rolling there, I think having your best players supported with good players is something we have to look at."
Interesting.
Very interesting.
There's a couple of layers to this. The first one, it says to me, Mangiapane clearly just didn't show anything in that game to Knoblauch.
And he is now an injury placeholder, an illness placeholder for Podkolzin in practice, which could lead you to believe he's not going to be in the lineup tomorrow.
Yes, I would suspect that as well. I think Savoy has struggled to find consistency, but I think he's done well. And I do think they've given Savoy a lot of time.
They have. They've actually, as much as we roast them for not giving young players opportunity, I actually think they've handled Matt Savoy correctly. When he's played well, he's gotten opportunities. When he's not playing well, he still gets what I'd call third line minutes most nights, and that's good.
Like the other night, how many minutes did he play against? 11 minutes, 17.
Yeah.
It's not 15 shifts.
On a night when he didn't have it, that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's gonna be ups and downs, but he's just not been consistent by any means. But it's the lowest time in ice he's played in quite a while. I don't think it's wrong for them to say that too, because I also think Roslovic has played very, very well in his time on ice with Draisaitl and Podkolzin. That line was very good before Roslovic got injured.
Yep.
Does it also say to you that Knoblauch and the staff know where their hole clearly is? Like, they know they're just not getting anything out of their bottom six in the sense of, like, even if we play Roslovic there with the guys that were there on the roster on Saturday night, whatever day of the week it is anymore. What day was that? Wednesday. It doesn't matter. Because no one is good enough to get these guys going because they're all not good enough. I wonder if that's kind of a side of it too. I know this was taken like as a very negative comment from Knoblauch, and I can totally understand why. But I also think it makes a lot of sense as well.
Someone in the comments said, "Really, Ty? Starbucks? This is this is my reusable Starbucks cup that I fill with coffee from home, everybody, so let's take it easy.
Let's relax. We're
not flexing too hard on all you.
We're a McDonald's family here.
We have a Keurig now, gentlemen.
Yeah, we have a Keurig. Come on. Anyways, I think I get where you're coming from. We're like, this is a positive for Roslovic or whatever.
Yeah.
I think where I read it as a negative is right after we heard this, the next day, it's like, oh, by the way, they're calling up Howard and Hutson. Again, Kris Knoblauch is not saying this, and Kris Knoblauch is not then, to some extent, rubber stamping or approving a call-up of Quinn Hutson and Ike Howard if he isn't incredibly pissed off with what he's getting from the bottom parts of his lineup. And, like, some people will probably say, hey, Chris, it is game 41. Like, that loss to Boston was the official halfway point of the season.
Wow.
Going in the rearview mirror.
And now they haven't won as many games as they've lost, right?
We are halfway through the season, and the Oilers, I know overtime points are great, but the Oilers have lost more games than they've won halfway through this season. Kris Knoblauch, I just think, is totally fed up with the bottom parts of this lineup, and this is, I think the proof is in his quote and in the organization's actions. Again, if they just felt like it was guys in a slump who just need to get going, like maybe that's what they believed 20 games ago, right?
Yeah.
Is that like, you know what, Henrique will get going. You know what, Mangiapane, Frederic, these guys will get going. I think they're at the point where they go, you know what, 50% of the way through the year, and you guys, the vets, aren't going. We're doing something different. And the something different is they've brought up two kids and they are employing a full-on kid line. It's Nielsen, Cogliano, and Gagne all over again, baby.
And you've always said Savoy's Cogliano.
I have.
You have.
So then oh boy. Who's Nielsen?
What was it? Sorry?
Nielsen, Cogliano, Gagne.
Hutson is Nielsen.
Yeah.
I think like Howard's Nielsen.
Might be Nielsen.
No.
He was the flashiest of the bunch. If you would ask people back then which player is the most likely to score 25 goals in a season, people probably said Robert Nielsen.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, let's talk about Ike Howard a little bit, because my concern for him was...
Oh, actually, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Can you pull up the lines again, Aaron? So move out the kid line.
Savoy, Howard, Hutson, Savoy playing as the centerman there. Very interesting.
So that is not, I don't want to talk about that line in this question.
Okay.
When the trade deadline comes and passes, out of those 5 bottom 6 players, that being Frederic, well, let's actually just include Mangiapane. Yes. Mangiapane, Frederic, Henrique, Janmark, Lazan, Kapanen, whatever day the trade deadline is, how many of them do you think are on the roster the next day or when the deadline passes?
Manja's not. Henrique is. Lazar's not. Kapanen is. Frederic is. I'm very confident Mangiapane won't be. I think he's traded sooner rather than later.
I think he's not even on the team now.
Yeah, I think I think he is barely on the team. Janmark is the one that's very, very 50-50 for me, because it's like Kris Knoblauch clearly likes him.
Yes.
But we don't know if Kris Knoblauch likes him because he hates everything else, or if Kris Knoblauch legitimately likes him right now.
Yeah.
Right? He's $1.45 million. That is cap space that you might want at some point. But I think he's also a guy who they would very much like to be their 13th forward going into the playoffs, right? Like, you wouldn't mind if there's a game where you just got to slide Janmark in and he gives you some energy and he skates hard and kills a couple penalties, like all of that stuff. So I think Mangiapane is the only one that I'm very, very confident is gone. Lazar, I just think, is on waivers and probably in Bako at some point. And then whoever you add from that point on is Hutson goes back down, Howard goes back down kind of thing. What's up, Nation citizens? If you enjoyed today's episode of Oilers Nation Every Day, make sure you hit the subscribe button here on our YouTube to not miss any of our content. We got you covered from interviews, insight, analysis, everything you need to stay up to date on everything around the team. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video.